you've moved abroad for a partner, and now you're thinking, okay, what do I actually do now? You've felt lost, stuck, less confident, like you might even be falling behind in your own life. And now there's this pressure underneath that feels like, I need to figure this out, but you don't know where to begin. This is the point where a lot of my clients arrive when they start working with me. And there's often this kind of expectation sitting underneath things that we're gonna map everything out. Like there's gonna be this one clear answer to what I should do next. And it makes sense that you'd want that, because when things feel unclear, the natural instinct is to try and resolve that by thinking it through properly, by finding the right direction before you commit to anything. But what tends to happen, especially after a move like this, is that everything feels just a bit too undefined for that to actually work. So instead of choosing something, you stay in this in-between space, waiting to feel more certain, waiting to feel more like yourself again, waiting for something to click so that the next steps feel obvious. I'm Hannah. I work with people who've moved abroad for a relationship and find themselves in this exact moment where they know that they want to move forwards, but they don't yet feel clear enough to decide how. And one of the things that I see most consistently in my coaching work is that people assume clarity is something they need to find first, when actually it tends to come from something else. Because clarity in this stage is very rarely something that you arrive at by sitting and thinking about your life from the outside. It tends to form through movement. And I know that that can feel slightly counterintuitive, because it would be so much easier if we could just take a bit of time, reflect properly, and then come out the other side with a clear sense of direction. But when your environment has changed this much and your role in your own life hasn't fully taken shape yet, there often isn't enough really stable information for that kind of thinking to land on. So you end up going in circles, thinking about what you could do, weighing up different options, trying to work out what feels right. But without anything concrete to respond to, those thoughts don't really resolve. And I see this quite a lot with my clients. They'll say something like, I just need to figure out what I want to do next. But when we look at that more closely, what they're actually doing is trying to make a clear decision from a place where everything still feels kind of abstract. So instead of asking, what's the right next step? We start somewhere slightly different. More like, what's something I could move towards even if I'm not completely sure about it yet? And that shift, it might sound really small, but it changes how you relate to this phase quite a lot. Because once you stop waiting for clarity to arrive first, you can begin to move in ways that are much smaller and more grounded in where you actually are right now. And this doesn't mean making big decisions or committing to something that has to work. It's much closer to following small points of interest or curiosity, or even just something that feels slightly easier to step into than everything else. For one client, that looked like reaching out to someone that she'd met briefly and suggesting a coffee, even though she didn't really know what would come from it. For another, it was signing up for a short course. Not because it was part of her bigger plan, but because it gave her something to engage with, something that created a bit of structure in her week. And for someone else, it was simply choosing to go to the same place regularly, which sounds small, but over time it created this sense of familiarity that hadn't been there before. None of these things were the answer. They weren't the thing that suddenly solved direction or gave everything meaning. But what they did was create that movement. And movement, even when it's small or slightly uncertain, starts to generate information. You begin to notice what you're drawn to, what you're not, what feels energizing and what feels flat. And that's something you don't have when you're only thinking about your life from a distance. Because a lot of what people are really asking in this phase isn't just, what should I do? It's also, what feels like mine? What actually matters to me here? And those questions tend to get clearer through experience, not before it. So instead of trying to solve your life all at once or waiting until you feel completely ready, it can be more useful to think in terms of movement that creates clarity over time. Not perfectly, not in a straight line, but gradually. And that might look like choosing one thing this week that brings you slightly closer to the life that you're trying to build here. Even if you don't know what that life fully looks like yet. Or following something that you've been circling around for a while, not because you're certain about it, but because you're curious enough to try. Or even just paying attention to what feels different when you engage with something, rather than staying in that space of just thinking about it. And none of this needs to be forced. It's not about pushing yourself into action for the sake of it. It's about allowing movement to happen in a way that feels possible from where you are now. Because direction in this phase isn't something that you find fully formed. It's something that starts to take shape as you move, even in a small, slightly uncertain way. So, something to sit with here. If you didn't need to have everything figured out first, what's something you'd be willing to try, just to see what it gives you? So if you've moved abroad for a partner and you're wondering what to do next, you don't need a full plan before you begin. Clarity tends to come through movement, not before it. And this whole playlist has really been about helping you see that what you've been experiencing, that feeling of lost, of feeling stuck, less confident, like you're falling behind, it all makes sense in the context of this kind of transition. I'm Hannah and I work with people who are navigating this exact phase after relocating for a relationship. And if you want support with this, my Finding Your Feet 8-session coaching program is designed for exactly this stage, where we'll start to rebuild direction in a way that fits where you are now. And if you'd prefer something lighter to begin with, my newsletter is a space where I share reflections like this to help you find your footing over time. Go ahead and check out the details in the description box.